Hello again and welcome to 360 Retirement. We're so glad you could be with us today. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my guest, Keith Wiltfong of Capstone Planning. Keith, how you been, brother?
I've been doing good. How about yourself, Paul?
I'm doing well, thank you. I am under the understanding that a lot of stuff is happening around your neck of the woods with an office change, right?
Yes, we have a new office that we are currently in the process of building. It's going to be 6,400 square feet, and what's great about it, it's perfect for the expansion. We just kind of ran out of space where we're currently at for all the services that we offer as far as tax planning and Social Security planning, and everything that we do is from mortgages, home and auto, so it's going to be a great addition. And then also what's great about this new office is we're going to have a large room where we're going to be able to be COVID compliant. Even if there's a COVID-22 or COVID-23, we're going to be ready.
You're ready.
We're going to be ready. And we have a great room where we'll be able to visit with folks and have nice little wine and cheese events and things like that. So looking forward to it.
Right, so the 360 Retirement has a lot to do with the strategies on what you could offer
Yes.
people, right?
Yep, and 360 means completely holistic. Cover it from every single angle. And I'm blessed enough to work with my family, and all of us do a little bit something different. We have my mother that does the tax planning, really kind of builds out those Roth conversion strategies. And then my brother does independent mortgage as well as home and auto. And my father really, he's responsible for the direction of our company. And then myself, I handle all the investments and all the tools that get plugged in there. And my biggest thing that I love is actually building the plans and most importantly, testing the plans out to make sure that they can stand that test of time.
Oh, wow, sounds fantastic. So say I want to maybe be a part of the family, I want to join, okay?
Yeah.
What do I need to bring when I come for my first consultation with you?
Yeah, and that's really how we treat all the clients and prospects that we meet. It's really an extension of our family to their family. And a lot of them, if you talk about these relationships, I mean, it's going back to my father for 20 years, they feel like family. I mean, you see them at Christmas parties and holiday parties and shred events and all these different things that we have. So they really become like family. As far as that first visit, it's really a discovery visit. It's no pressure. You don't bring statements. Leave the checkbook at home.
Well, I get to leave my checkbook at home?
Absolutely.
Hey, that sounds like a party.
and it's just as for us to get to know you a little bit better, and you to get to know us a little bit better. And really what we're going to find out is, hey, where exactly are you right now today? And then where do we want to go, right? So we're at A, we want to go to B. What's the easiest path to get there? And if you already have an advisor or you already have a plan, you can bring that plan and we'll actually stress test it to make sure that it can stand that test of time and it can withstand a 30% market correction or pullback, or it can sustain higher interest rates and higher inflation. Or it can also, hey, if I live 20, 30, 40 years, or I live into my hundreds, it can sustain that. Or, hey, what if I get sick or pass early? Is my spouse going to be okay? That's one of the biggest concerns that we see is my spouse going to be taken care of when I'm gone? Because I think too often only one spouse will kind of handle the finances. And, hey, we understand life happens, and it's not a common dinner conversation to talk about finances, right? There's a lot more in life going on. So having those conversations are so powerful, and that's really what we try to accomplish in that first visit. And then if we find out, hey, we're a pretty good fit, then we'll move on to another visit. And then the other visit will really dive deeper into a lot of those questions to see exactly where we need to be.
Sounds like a solid foundation to a long-lasting relationship.
Yes, yep. And I always tell people, you're going to have, if you don't like us, it's not going to work, because this is a relationship that's going to be 20, 30 years. So I have the benefit of, being in my mid to late 30s here, of when I work with people that are 60, I know that I'm going to be there when they need me the most. When they're getting into those late 70s and 80s, I'm still going to be in this business. I'm still going to be there for them when we're actually executing the plans that we've put so much time and effort into.
Keith, say I'm a guy who, his advisor, maybe he's getting close to retirement and it doesn't seem to be a real succession plan. Maybe I haven't heard from him in a while. I mean, is that a good time maybe to reach out to you guys and schedule that first consultation?
I think it's always a good time to get a second opinion. And I always say, hey, if you don't like the plan that we're providing, go out and get a second opinion, right?
Right,
So,
yeah, right. Second, third, right.
Yeah, so the one thing that we do, I think that's truly different is so many advisors will just be so cookie cutter, especially at those big box shops. I mean, if some of these folks that walk in, I could tell them exactly what's in their portfolio. once they walk in the door based on where they're coming from. And I can tell them the plan and what was told to them because it's so cookie cutter. And with us, we understand that you're unique and every family is unique and there's different circumstances. And we treat it. We understand that everyone's unique.
Right.
And the other thing that we see as far as a deficit is a lot of those plans assume that everything's going to be okay, that you're never going to get sick and no spouse is going to predecease the other. And we know that's just not reality. Mm-hmm. And they don't plan for what if I live a very long time. Mm-hmm. So they don't really plan and test for the what ifs. And that's what we're constantly doing is testing for those what ifs because we understand life happens. And more than anything else, I think the fact that these plans have to be fluid. It's not just, it's a moment in time, but plans change. Maybe you want to go back to work part-time. Or maybe you want to quit that job because you're finally frustrated with it. So how does that look now? Or what if somebody got sick and it looks like they're not going to make it? How does that change the plan? So all those scenarios have to be taken into account.
You brought up something about the big box stores, right? And I think that's something that resonates with the viewer out there because, there's that feeling that you're a number. Right. You're just kind of another number. And it's like pull the slot, here's your retirement plan. But they're not going to have that experience with you guys, right?
No, not at all. And a lot of folks that have another advisor and they come to us, when they kind of make the decision to kind of make the transition, the hardest part of that is really the relationship that they have with that advisor. It's like, I understand financially this is the best decision, but I have to make that emotional decision and say, this is what, I have to put me before my relationship with that other advisor. And that sometimes is the hardest thing to do.
That brings up a topic that it's like a buzzword today. That's the key as to what is a fiduciary, right?
Yes.
And why should that matter to me?
Yeah, and it should matter very much to you that you're working with someone that is a fiduciary, because a fiduciary has that legal obligation to put your needs ahead of their own. And when you say, hey, I'm going to sit down with a financial advisor, you assume that that's going to be assumed. But unfortunately, that's not reality. And the sad truth is that the vast majority of advisors that call themselves financial advisors are held to what's called the suitability standard, which simply means that they have to do what's suitable, not in your best interest.
Good stuff. I understand you came today with a special offer for all of our viewers. Would you share that with them, please?
Yeah, so our special offer for the first 10 callers that call in today is going to be to stress test your current financial plan. So we're going to test all those scenarios. What if my spouse predeceases me? Or what if I live a very long time? What if we have high interest rates or high inflation or interest rate spikes? How does that affect my current portfolio? And all you have to do is call the number 888-222-4498 and be one of those first 10 callers to get in. Again, that's 888-222-4498.
Yeah, so pick up that phone and call right away. We're going to take a short break, but we're going to talk a little bit about tax planning versus tax preparation. When we return, please stay with us after these messages.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Hello again and welcome back to 360 Retirement. And I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt, with our friend here, Keith Whitfong of Capstone Planning. Keith, So we left before the break talking about something that, I mean, I know everybody wants to hear. It's tax planning versus tax preparation.
Yes, and there's such a difference. So tax preparation, it really is, hey, this is what has already happened. It's history. I'll bring you all the tax docs, and there's usually little to nothing that can be done at that point in time. Tax planning is taking a look at the current scenario and saying, what can we do this year and years into the future to make sure that we're going to be set up for all the changes that may occur in our tax code. So really it's a risk mitigation. So we want to mitigate against that government policy or higher taxes. And a lot of that times that will mean that maybe we're going to take a look at a Roth conversion strategy. And there's a number of different ways that we can do that. One that really instituted, and I think it's a less known strategy, is what's called a market timing Roth conversion. So let's just say we had a plan to convert 10,000 of our IRA to Roth IRA, which means we're going to pay the taxes, but then it's never going to be taxed again. And all that growth is going to be 100% tax-free. So the market's timing strategy works as, hey, we had a decline in the market 30% relatively quickly, right? So now all of a sudden that IRA is a little bit smaller. So we'll take that portion, convert it to a Roth IRA, never pay the taxes again, and now when the market, like it did in 2020, comes roaring back, all that growth, 100% tax-free.
Oh, that's an exciting thing, growth, right? Growth in the portfolio.
Growth's always good.
And tax advantages, right?
Yes.
Always tax advantages. Oh, that's good stuff. I understand that you're an author to be here, right?
Yes, yep.
You got a new book.
A new book. It's coming out shortly here. It's actually called 360 Retirement.
Okay.
And it covers a lot of the stories and things that we've experienced and a lot of the strategies that we're kind of talking about today that people can really take and implement it. And the purpose for the book and kind of, I'd say the genesis of it, came a few years back, and it was a client that we sat down with, and they had a decision to make on when to take their pension. And at the time, we'll say the names to protect the innocent, Joe and Betty. And Joe, I mean, pretty healthy with blood pressure medicine, very light, and a cholesterol. And then also his spouse, history of cancer, 10 years his senior, not doing well. And he retired from a major corporation. He had the option, do I want 100% survivorship or 50 or 0? And he was heavily leaning towards 0 because it was an extra $500 per month for him, which was, pretty significant chunk of change for a lifetime income that has a cost of living adjustment. But when we ran that stress test, we said, hey, Joe, God forbid, if something were to happen to you and you decided to do this no survivorship, your wife here is going to be left in poverty, basically, because that pension's going to be gone. And now she'll only have that one Social Security. And he decided to work with us and took the advice to do the 100% survivorship because at the end of the day, he loves his spouse. And it was about, like I said, a year and a half ago, we got the call right around Thanksgiving from Betty that Joe was no longer with us. It was a massive heart attack, passed quickly. But the biggest thing there is because of that one decision, she's going to be okay. And if they didn't sit down with us, in all likelihood, he would have made a different decision.
Right.
So having the impact and really to reach more people, I said, it's not a must, I want to write this book, I need to write this book for people so they can know that message and know the importance of how important it is to really stress test their retirement plans.
I love that about you, is your passion, Keith, for what you're doing. I think we shared in the break, I told you a little bit about my personal story.
Yes.
And about how I lost my mother on my 15th birthday, being the youngest of 5 kids. And, mom's the heart and soul of a family,
Yeah.
and it's hard enough to try to grieve, but when you have the financial stress, it was unbelievable. I mean, I had to go out and get a job and kind of try to help around the house. And so I really appreciate what you guys do. And it reminds me of a saying I once heard, nobody cares about what you know until they know how much you care.
Right. And life insurance is so critically important. Just recently, I actually lost my uncle. But because he had that life policy in place, he is going to be okay. His wife is going to be okay. It gives people permission to grieve and the fact that they know they're going to be okay, because too often And this just happened, another story recently is someone came in and they told me all their aspirations that, hey, I'm going to retire next year. I'm going to travel the world, with my husband. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. They had it all planned out on the RV they're going to buy and where they're going to go. Right?
They were ready, yes.
They were already scheduled. And it was a scenario where he had some underlying conditions that she really didn't know about. And a week later, I get a phone call that we need to change the plans because he's no longer with us. And then we're sitting down. She doesn't have time to grieve, really, because now she needs to figure out what she needs. He was in the military. He had massive pensions that they relied on. And unfortunately, those pensions didn't have survivorships, which she didn't know about. So if we would have had this conversation just a few weeks prior, we would have been okay to prepare for it. And those are the biggest things, is it's never too early to sit down and have those conversations.
Right.
Because tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Absolutely.
So the earlier that you have these conversations and sit down with someone
Yes.
and make the plan,
Yes.
the better you're going to be.
Right. Sit down, make the plan, get it out of the way, right? So you can get on and living with your life.
Yes.
Know that peace of mind, right?
Yep.
I mean, what's the value of peace of mind? That's what we're talking about here.
Right, yeah.
So you do have this incredible offer. I hope you'll share it with the audience one more time for us. I think it's fantastic what you offer, what you have for the
So
consultation.
for the first 10 callers that call in today, we're going to offer that stress test that I'm talking about, the stress test of the retirement plan that's going to guard against all those different scenarios. We're going to make sure that your retirement plan is bulletproof because we know life happens, things change, goals change. We need to make this a living, breathing document, and we're going to make sure that that plan is solid for life. So call right now, 888-222-4498.
Boy, and the phone lines are busy. We sure hope you reach out and call us right away. Meet with Keith and his team. Just an incredible family. They care, and that's an important thing, especially nowadays. We're going to talk a little bit more about required minimum distributions and some other aspects of good retirement when we return after this break from our sponsors.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Hello and welcome back to 360 Retirement with Paul Gebhardt, your host, and my good friend here, Keith Whitfong of Capstone Planning. Wow, what an incredible section we just went over, talking about everything from life insurance to tax strategies, tax planning. This segment, we're going to go back and cover something before the break that we spoke about was required minimum distributions, RMDs.
Right? Yeah. And this is where they kind of moved the ball just a little bit recently because there's a Secure Act that went into effect January 1st of 2020. So the RMD age was 70 and a half, and now it is 72. And what an RMD is basically it says all that qualified money, which is your IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 401as. Basically, it's the government says, hey, we're a partner there, and we want our cut. And that starts right now at 72, and it starts about 4%, and it goes up a little bit every year after that. But the biggest thing to consider with RMDs is to make sure that they're systematic and on schedule. Because if you fail to take it out, it's actually a 50% penalty.
Wow, 50% penalty?
50%. So if you were supposed to take out, say, $10,000, that's a $5,000 IRS tax penalty.
We can't let that happen.
And the worst yet is you still have to take out the RMD for that year. So you have to take out the RMD, then you have to take out next year's RMD. So it's almost like a double whammy.
Oof, that sounds rough, very rough. So you were talking to me also earlier, before we started the show, about rebalancing a portfolio.
It's so important to rebalance. And if you think about rebalancing, it's really doing what everyone knows is right to do, and that's selling when something's high and buying when something's low. And a great example is 2008. So let's just say I have a portfolio that's 50-50. 50% fixed income, bonds, things of that nature, and 50% stocks or equities. Now in 2008, let's just say it lost 50%. So now that 50% pie is only 25% because it got cut in half. Now what I should do, which is probably, again, emotional counterintuitive, is buy a lot of stocks in 2008 to rebalance. So I sell off the bonds, right, or the fixed income, and I buy those stocks. And what I'm doing is I'm selling high and buying low. And what that does is a number of things. One thing is now in 2009, 10, 11, 12, I'm making more money. And then also I'm not caught off guard. So the risk doesn't change. So if I don't rebalance, then my risk gets a little bit off. So for example, if I was a 50-50 in 2009 and now it's 2020 and I haven't rebalanced or done anything, most likely I'm overweight in that stock or equity portion. So now if there's a pullback, it's going to hurt a lot more because now that portion is going to get really hit. So rebalancing is important on two fronts.
Very good time, the opportunity to come in and actually do the review and catch that probably, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good idea. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about multiple income strategies, right? And ways that you can basically mitigate risk in retirement. One of those things that you hear a lot about, one option is an annuity, right?
Right.
And with people living longer and longer, you know, I hear they're incredible tools, but there's also a lot of negative publicity out there about that. Could you share with the viewer, you know, these annuity strategies and why they should be considered?
Yeah, and so first I'll kind of cover on the negative because that's usually, you know, top of mind. And just to be clear, no investment vehicle out there is perfect. There's nothing out there that's going to guarantee 12%, be 100% liquid and 100% safe.
Right. We'd all be in it.
It doesn't exist. And
Right.
and if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
And the important thing is to think of it just different tools to accomplish a goal. To me, I almost think about it like if you're making an apple pie, right? It's not all the ingredients that goes into it or the recipe, the plan to kind of make it happen. At the end of the day, you care about the apple pie, which are the goals. So that's really what we focus on, is on the goals. But as far as like one annuity that I'm not a fan of at all is the variable annuity. And the reason is because it has so many fees in it. You have sub-account fees, M&E fees, rider fees, just a litany of fees that usually cost 3 to 5%. And then usually it still has that market risk because it has those sub-accounts. The annuities that I favor more are the ones that have that guaranteed income stream, such as a fixed index annuity with an income rider, or even some of the SPIAs with some period certain, or even something like the multi-year guaranteed annuities, which give you a fixed guarantee rate, very much like a CD. So those are safe investments that really can serve a purpose for generating guaranteed income, because at the end of the day, we want to have this nice foundation where we know that our living expenses are going to be covered. And then after that, then we kind of get to the gravy, then we get more to the lifestyle. And I would say a lot of my clients would argue that vacations are part of that foundation. That has to be baked in. They're not lifestyle, that's required. I worked a very long time.
Right.
I need to make sure that's in there.
No, they understand the value of their time and how much they invested, that's for sure. This is one of my favorite parts of the show. This is where we get to go through some viewer questions. You got
All
a
right,
few minutes
great.
to cover with us? So I wanted to go through, Tom says, I am starting a new job at 64 this year. Should I even bother to sign up for a 401k plan? Or at this stage, should I just save money elsewhere? And if I'm saving it elsewhere, where should I do it?
Yeah, so for 401k plans, typically the reason that I like these is because we have higher contribution limits, so we can put more into them and still have that tax deferral, especially if they offer, more and more employers are offering this Roth 401k option, which I really like. You have those higher limits compared to your IRA or your Roth IRA. The other thing is if there's any type of match. So for example, if they match 2% or 3%, always say you got to take advantage of the match because that is just free money. It's literally a guaranteed 100% return regardless of market conditions, right? So if you put in $1, they're going to give you $1. You can't beat that.
Well, we're about to run out of time here, but I think we got time for one more question, okay? So text says, my wife has been retired from the workforce for 8 years, and the two of us have approximately $750,000 in assets and no debt. Our combined Social Security benefits today would be more than adequate to sustain our current lifestyle. Is there some point in waiting an additional 3 years to retire at full retirement age if I can comfortably live off Social Security benefits now?
Yeah, so I would say Social Security planning is something that's overlooked a lot of the times. And I think the problem is a lot of the advisors that are giving advice on Social Security have had no formal training or no real experience with the true benefits of waiting to take Social Security and the planning strategies around that. It can literally mean hundreds of thousands of dollars of lifetime benefits in Social Security planning strategies. And I think retirement's all about mitigating different risk. So one strategy that we like to use for a lot of our clients is if it's a married couple, having the higher earner wait till age 70. And the reason being is because they're getting those delayed retirement credits, which is 8% guaranteed, plus the cost of living adjustment. And then if someone predeceases, which we know unless someone passes at the exact same time is going to happen, that when you lose one Social Security because someone passes, it's at a higher amount. And that's an amount that's going to be guaranteed and it's going to roll up with those cost of living adjustments. So it's critically important to take a look at that. And it's not like you can't retire, because what you can do is retire, draw down some of that 401k or IRA, and really take advantage of all the tax planning aspects of that.
Wow. Hey, well, we're running out of time. I know we got a few slots left. Will you share with the viewers real quick what you guys are offering them today?
Yeah, so for the first 10 callers that call in right now, we are offering a stress test of your current financial plan. And if you don't have a financial plan in place, that's all right. We will give you a written plan that lays out the rest of your life to make sure that you're going to be okay, no matter what life throws at you. So just go ahead and give us a call. That number is 888-222-4498. Again, that's 888-222-4498.
Well, Keith, I want to thank you again on behalf of the audience for being with us today, sharing such great information. So excited about your book and all the great changes that are happening. Listen, one question probably remains. What will your tomorrow look like? Find out today, won't you? Thank you for being with us, and have a great day.